1988 classic horror movie, which is also a killer doll thriller, Child's Play. Join me in today's video to see if Chucky still kills 37 years later. But first, happy birthday! Charles Lee Ray, better known as Chucky, is probably one of the most recognizable dolls in the horror genre. He's not the first, but he definitely won't be the last. I'm going to delve into some of the most iconic scenes in this original classic to see, do they still hold up in 2025? Are you ready? Let's get back to the flicks.
Let's take a trip down memory lane. So hop in the whip, let's ride the wave. Destination set where classics were born. So kick up your feet and grab the popcorn. Blockbuster movies that swept the nation. Hit the like, subscribe, and notification.
From a killer doll to a killer IP, Child's Play built a horror icon. In this deep dive, I'll revisit the original to see what still works, what aged oddly, and why this tiny terror became a giant franchise. A single mom named Karen Barclay is doing her best on a tight budget. Her 6-year-old Andy wants a good guy more than oxygen, so she hits a back alley and scores one secondhand. His name is Chucky. At first it's cute, cartoons, catchphrases, and the whole jingle. Then the doll turns up where no one left it. The TV flips on by itself. Andy insists Chucky's alive. That's kid stuff. Until Karen's best friend Maggie goes through a window and a tiny set of footprints is the only clue. Charles Lee Ray gets mortally wounded by Officer North. He ends up transferring his soul into a good guy doll. The store explodes because, I guess, of the outburst of magic that happened in the soul transfer. Karen Barclay ends up buying that same good guy doll for her son Andy. The thing is, she didn't get it from the store. She bought it in the back alley. So you get what you get, I guess. I think what this movie does very well is set up a premise quickly. Even though you don't really understand what's going on, you do there's a history between the police officer and Charles Lee Ray. And you also realize that there's a voodoo element, which also adds a level of mystery to the movie. Andy's mom, Karen, ends up buying the good guy doll from a crackhead, pretty much. Man. A woman named Karen ends up buying that same good guy doll for her son, Andy. But the thing is, Karen ain't have no money. Andy soon realizes off camera that the good guy doll has a name, and his name is Chucky. Of course, nobody believes Andy because he's a little kid, and that's what people do in horror movies. Nobody believes children. That's one of the cliches, whatever. You can't really get away from that. But Chucky starts to do things that makes Andy look a little bit suspicious to his mom, but he's a little kid and kind of expected because she's a single parent. That's all good until Karen's best friend Maggie comes over to babysit one night, and for some reason, bloodlust, Chucky just can't help himself. He got to hit her upside the head with a hammer and send her flying through a window. Everybody seems to think Andy is the one who did this, but he's adamant that Chucky's to blame. We as the viewers get to see Chucky's shenanigans. I think it's pretty cool because they mix elements of human actors with animatronics, and whenever you use practical effects, it always tends to ground that character into our reality versus using CGI. I'm not a big fan of CGI. Practical effects is always the way to go when you want to do creature features or when you want to make something seem more real. I guess one of the most iconic scenes is the battery reveal.
Hi, I'm Chucky. Wanna play?
Hi, I'm Chucky. Want to play? That portion of it, when she realizes that there's nothing in this doll's back that should be allowing him to talk, and she's been listening to this thing talk for the past few days, and she throws it on the ground, and that bad boy scurries up on the couch, man. And as you know, she's gonna look under the couch, man. Like they always do. Like, why you gotta check? Huh? Why do you need to know that doll that has no batteries, that's been talking for the last few days, is under that couch? Just leave the apartment. Just go. Leave. Lock it. Go. I mean, if people think you're crazy, they think you're crazy. You're gonna do, you're not going out alone. You know what I'm saying? What works? The voodoo angle worked. Originally in the script, there was supposed to be some kind of blood packet that goes inside the doll, and Andy's blood was supposed to mix with that and then bring Chucky to life or something like that. I think that would have flopped horribly, but the voodoo angle, whenever you're dealing with magic, anything is possible. So that's what really allows this movie to have, versus the newer one, which is some kind of AI robot. That kind of, you lose a little bit of that because you don't really have the soul of a human being inside manipulating the situation. So I think the voodoo angle was really good on this. The vulnerability of a child is always good in a horror movie because everybody's a kid. So you know how frustrating it is when you're telling someone the truth and nobody believes you just because you're little. Right? So I think what ChildsPlay does well also is it allows your mind to fill in those blank spots simply by putting sound in places where they're not doing you anything, like feet scurrying across the ground or a slight picking up of a tool in the background. That really add to it because you don't really need to see those things for us to feel their relevance in the movie. And lastly, what I'll say that helps to move this movie forward is the urgency that Charles Lee Ray feels in the body of a doll when he realizes that the longer he stays in this doll, the more it becomes his reality. The urgency to get his soul switched over to Andy helps progress the movie for us, including the characters, because now there's consequences for Charles Lee Ray. It's not just him going on a crazy doll murder spree as some animated doll. I think what aged in this movie is you have an animated doll running around the city of Chicago causing mayhem and no one sees it. I can understand him getting away with it by having Andy take him to certain places, but bro, you're a doll. I mean, how much does that doll weigh? Like, I guess it's, I don't know. I guess the voodoo enables it to be a little bit stronger than it's supposed to be, but it's a doll, bro. Like, just hold the doll by its back and put it in a garbage disposal. Put it in the trash compactor. You know what I mean? Just put it in a Tupperware box. But I mean, all in all, I think the movie does a good job at portraying a killer doll in the capacity that I guess a killer doll would kill. I don't know. ChildsPlay, or the Chucky franchise, will go on to spawn 8 sequels as well as a TV series. I think as well as the other classics like Friday the 13th, Nightmare on Elm Street, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Hellraiser. It does a good job at being able to extend its longevity in the horror genre, and I think that no matter what, you can always bounce back to a movie like this and recreate it. It will still have some fanfare and it will still do relatively well in the box office, if not as a simple iconic cult classic. So I think for that reason alone, Chucky still stands up. The 1988 Child's Play is still a solid movie. It's a solid watch. If you want something to watch that you're probably going to laugh at more than be terrified of, then this is probably one of those movies. I never had any Chucky nightmares when I was a kid, and I saw this movie relatively young, probably about 2 years after it came out. So, but all in all, give it a watch. So thanks for joining me. Be sure to leave a comment and let me know what your first experience with the ChildsPlay franchise was. Once again, thank you for joining me, and I'll see you when we get back to the Flix.
We're going back to the flicks, rewind the mix. 80's flicks, family ties in the Netflix fix. Reliving those days with the little ones amazed in the retro wave. Old classics pave the way. Back to the flicks, rewind the mix. 80's flicks, family ties in the Netflix fix. Reliving those days with the little ones amazed in the retro wave. Old classics pave the way.